Welcome to Chad the Home Care Guy. Real conversations about aging, home care, and the decisions families face every day. Hosted by Chad Fisher, founder of Avail Home Care. Because caring for the people you love shouldn't be confusing. Let's get started.
All right. Hey, guys. This is Chad the Home Care Guy, and I am back with another episode of Chad the Home Care Guy podcast. And today I have Barb Croy with me, and she is with Organized by Barb. So welcome.
Thanks.
Appreciate you coming in and doing this with me today.
Hey, excited to be here.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a little bit of a frigid morning. It's getting warmer, but it's a little bit of a frigid morning. So we're out here making it work. Give me a little story about yourself first and where you're from and how you ended up here.
Okay.
And then a little bit about how you ended up in this industry.
Well, I'm from Michigan originally and came down here for work about 30 years ago.
Okay.
Ended up meeting my husband at work. And so against all odds, and I had said I'm never staying in Florida longer than a couple of years. I've been here, raised a family, have 2 young adult children, and still live in Dunedin. My husband's a Dunedin native, which is unusual these days too.
Yeah.
And so spent a lot of time in corporate America to have a bachelor's degree in psychology and a master's degree in labor relations. And so I've always used some sort of organizing efficiency assessment type of experience. And one thing led to another, like everybody, right?
Yeah.
Nobody seems to start out, doing what they are going to do for the rest of their life. But I've taken corporate experiences, personal experiences, managing a home, with family and trying to figure that out and turned it into this business that really focuses on helping people have better lives in their homes and their spaces and figuring out how to get out from under the stress of the clutter and accumulation.
It's anybody, right? Doesn't have to be seniors. It could be, I'm sure there's a lot of seniors out there that probably need the help decluttering and doing things like that. But really, you're open to all ages.
Right. All of our clients are across the board, from young families who are just struggling, trying to figure out handling all the stuff that comes with young families and kids, to, working professionals, to seniors, because all of us at some point or another deal with that struggle, between clutter and how we feel in our space and what do we do with it and how do we make life easier.
Well, when you walk into a client's home for the first time, what are the first probably 2 or 3 things that you look for to understand how you can help them best?
Well, their home, like everything that we see, is actually the biggest story for us. Looking at, where are the piles happening? Is it happening by the door? Is it happening, is it just stuff on the floor because there's nowhere to actually put things?
Yeah.
So we're really looking at that story.
By the door at our house.
By the door, the
kids
kitchen
with sports,
the kitchen counters. But all of that tells us a lot about what's happening in the space. And so we say, don't clean up, don't run and throw things in the guest bedroom, when we come over, because
coming over.
We want to actually see what's going on so that we can help you figure out how to counteract those stress points, really.
Yeah. Because families like me, we're what's considered the crazy busy families, right? So we've 100%. Got sports. I've got 2 kids. We've got when you first walk in the door, we've got that kind of coat closet, I guess people would say it would be, but that coat closet may only have a few coats in it for us, and it's filled with just sports bags and gear and stuff with sports that my kids don't even play anymore.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I should probably start looking at too, because we've got lacrosse gear that my son hasn't played in 2 years, but we still have the gear in there just in case, I guess. You never know. But what common patterns or pain points do you see over and over again in those homes?
Well, I think you actually just described one of the biggest ones, especially for the active families and really across the board, right? Stuff comes in, but stuff rarely comes out. Sometimes it's because we're just too busy, so we just keep piling it in. Sometimes it's because, well, what if? What if they decide to change their mind and play? We should save it just in case, or because it's so sentimental. There's so many different reasons that stuff stays in, and if we're not careful, we look around, 10 years down the road and realize we turned our house into a storage unit.
Yeah.
Right? We're not even able to use all the space that we're paying for.
Absolutely.
And it's driving us crazy.
Yeah. It drives my wife crazy because I'm more of that person that likes to hang on to stuff. And so I just keep giving her options and showing her these really cool like storage units that we can buy. Hey, I found a really cool storage unit close by. I think we'll just put another one out back. And she's like, no, Chad, no, we cannot do that. No more storage units. I built a 10 by 10 in the back of our house when we first moved in because we had so much stuff. And then we have classic cars. So I want to keep the cars in the garage. So that makes it real tight up against the walls where, we don't have a lot of room in the garage. Florida home,
right.
There's no basement.
For sure.
So you're stuck with this, a little bit of crawl space at the very top of our garage in the attic that I think we have our Easter stuff might be up there. But other than that, Christmas and all the other decorations, they had to go somewhere. So I had to build a shed in order to do that. And it's interesting when we start talking about what can we get rid of in there and what we can't. I'm probably guilty of, hanging on to things way too long.
We all are. And me too. People will say to me, oh my gosh, your house must be so organized. Well, not always, and I have to go through the same purging and editing because stuff just constantly comes into our homes now.
Yep.
It's very different, than our parents or even their parents where, we can get stuff the same day without leaving our house, right? It'll show up at our doorstep and, we really don't need to hold on to all these things because 3 years from now, we might need to take that thing and make it into something else, right? We really don't, but we live still with what we've learned.
Yes.
As a child and what we saw happen in our parents' home and our families with this new world that we live in. And it's worse now for our generation, usually because we've got that nagging, oh my gosh, my mom said, don't throw that away or never get rid of that or that belonged to your great Aunt Susie.
Yep.
But we're still bringing in stuff. And so I feel like this generation right now, the younger professional generation is really at the crux of it. And you have to get to a point where you actually have to make a decision for your family. How's your family going to live?
Absolutely.
And then, make decisions about what stays in your home based on that.
Yeah. And I think with my generation, especially, there's way more waste because of accessibility. I can buy any plastic thing that I want off Amazon and have it here the next day when really I probably have something already or could have just saved something. My mom's generation was more of the saving. I'm passing things down to you. My grandparents the same way. I've got these whole set of dishes. I'm going to pass that down. And today we look at that stuff and like, no, I can order that whole new set on Amazon and have it here tomorrow. And then, we've got all this extra stuff. We've got to figure out how to get rid of it. And I think that is tough for a lot of people. Can you walk us through maybe one or two places that you've been into recently where you can share maybe a story or two of how you've helped somebody, what that looks like?
Yeah. So actually, I'm working with someone right now, and she's dealing with all the things that you just talked about, right? She's in that sandwich, and mom or aunt or somebody has said these beanie babies and these collectible things, right? The collectibles are the things that kill us because our parents have spent so much time collecting the Yadro or the figurines or whatever it is because at some point somebody told them, hold on to these. They're going to be worth fortune.
We can put that word on anything, can't we?
Yes, anything. So, in her case, it's exactly what you were talking about, though. There's so much guilt.
Yes.
She's taken them from her mom's home because her mom has downsized, right? She's taken them and now she's holding them in her home to the detriment of her own space.
Yeah.
In particular, in her closet.
Yeah.
We're trying to get her closet in order so she doesn't have clothes on the floor and on the chairs because she, that's stressing her. But the root is she's filled her closet with so much stuff that she doesn't even really care about, honestly. But there's so much guilt between what, she doesn't want to disappoint.
Yep.
And someone, in her family keeps telling her that stuff's worth money.
Right.
You need to take the time and go through it.
Yep.
And often in situations like that, I'm going to ask the challenging questions. I can't make anybody do anything, but when we're really working one-on-one like that, it's a more about the stories and the stuff behind the stuff and the emotions than the actual physical thing.
Absolutely.
And so, I try to just ask some probing questions. And, sometimes we do get into tears. Sometimes I'm crying too, right?
Right.
But in this case, we really talked through it and we decided that it was more valuable to get these things into the hands of a nurse that I know who works at All Children's.
Okay.
Who can get these things into kids' hands, and that the value is greater there than trying to spend time figuring out how to get $5 here and there.
Yeah, I totally understand.
And it changed everything about her space, and it changed her countenance while I was there. We went through a struggle, but as it moved out, you could see that she was breathing easy.
A little bit of relief.
And eventually that repeats itself.
Just needed to work through it with somebody.
Her home, it's going to repeat itself several times.
Right.
But as we do it, it's easier and easier because people realize that their home either helps them or it works against them. It's like your space is not neutral.
And that's why it's important to have an outsider come in and work that psychology through with you, because I think if it's my wife and I, then it's more of a struggle to get rid of something because I'll push back more and I'll find those reasons to not get rid of it. And then we're just challenging each other, but it doesn't go anywhere until one of us gives in with an outside help.
Right.
You're really able to come in and make people see the light, I guess,
Sometimes I can, sometimes I can't, and that's the thing. But ultimately, it's your decision, right?
Yeah.
Every client, it is their decision, but we do try to walk down that path of what's the most important thing here, and your time is money and energy and emotion and your space. What's happening in this house, right? What happens when you walk in the door? Do your shoulders go up and you get stressed because you see it all? And it's just that reminder, oh my gosh, how come I can't get my act together and look at all this? And, or do you come into your home and realize, this is my good place, right? This is the place that de-stresses me versus causing me more stress. And, it's that kind of conversation. And some people are really open to it. And some people are just not there yet. But if I can help make one little space better, then that's what I'm there for.
Yeah. And maybe, hopefully that will grow in over time.
And hopefully then they feel the difference in that one little space.
Well, they have the tools. You've given them some tools to then think about later on as well.
And really, that's my goal. I don't want to make anyone dependent on me because that defeats the purpose too, right? My goal is to educate and teach people how to deal with it while I'm there. Because otherwise, if I just come in and do something for someone, they're going to look back in 6 months and say, well, that didn't work.
Yeah.
Because we have to own it and really decide in our space how we want our space to be.
Yeah. My mom actually just recently gave me some stuff from the storm. They had to move out. And of course, that was downsizing by storm.
Yeah.
They had no choice because
clients who didn't have a choice
was going into a storage unit and they didn't want to pay for multiple units. So now you're looking at what can we get rid of and downsize to just have this one little spot. In doing that, I was approached by her with a bag of red Avon glassware, something like that. And, and I took it because I feel for what they were going through, but I went through the motions of maybe putting it up on Marketplace and did that whole thing. And then it didn't sell for like a week. And my wife was like, let's just give this back. Let's figure out, this is just more stuff in our place and we're not getting rid of it. And, let's give it back. My mom was totally cool with the whole process and said to give it back to me and I'll take it back. But those are the little things that start to add up, and situations dictated her giving that to me in the first place. So, I totally understand where they're coming from. And then, also the hard part of even having to get rid of stuff as well. So it's tough. You've also helped with any moves and unpacking. Is that part of the business as well? And
we do. It's a lot of what we're doing when we're helping transition for moves are two things: helping declutter so that the home, if it's going to be sold, can actually be photographed and listed and shown, right? Because more space is more attractive as well. So we want to get those things out. And it's a nice segue into helping people just start to clear the clutter. Because as we go through, like, we don't really need this. It doesn't need to go to the new home or to the new space.
Right.
And a lot of times at this, stage, people are downsizing. So we're helping them figure out what can go, where it goes.
Yep.
And that's really, a big roadblock for a lot of people is they know things need to leave the home, but they don't know what to do with it.
Sure.
They are terrified of the thought of somebody coming in and just throwing everything in a dumpster because they worked so hard for all of these things that so we do a lot of work of trying to get as many good donations as we can into the hands of a variety of organizations that can put them into use right away. Some of the charities sell, but a lot of the charities that we work with actually just take the good household goods and get them to people who need them.
Yeah.
So we that changes things too. Like it's a lot easier for people, including myself, to know that something that I paid good money for 5 years ago, but we just don't use anymore in our house. Somebody's going to use it.
Yeah.
So it makes it a lot easier.
That is
to move it out. But so that's a big part of the process. We certainly will assist with packing, just to, and
even unpacking,
staging,
helping
unpacking and organize is a bigger part of what we do. Is we can come in afterwards and get them set up right away so that they can get back to real life.
A lot of people
away.
A lot of people can't see when they move into a new space and they have their own furniture. They don't know they're so used to what it looked like in their previous home. They probably do need assistance with staging and figuring out what fits where and what should go where functionally.
Yes. So, and it changes your life when you can start living again versus boxes. And, the average American, I think, I read a statistic is like, if they unpack themselves, it's about 6 months before all the boxes are finally unpacked. If that, right? We all have boxes that have gone from move to move to move and not actually been unpacked in garages. But we unpacked a family of 4 plus one on the way last weekend, and in a day and a half, by Friday afternoon, they were, getting ready to go out on the boat and live life again instead of being, struggling with that. So it's a great service for people to be able to just get that done quickly so they can get back to real life.
Awesome. Any tricks in balancing a home? Is there anything, I know people, the old feng shui kind of thing, but is there any tricks that you do that kind of helps balance things out inside of a home where things should go, or traditionally where things should not go?
Yeah. I mean, the first thing that we always talk about, though, is what can your house hold versus what you have, right?
Yep.
So that's the first balance that we try to get to, is having the amount of things that your home can hold.
Yep.
And then that will also tell us, and it happens a lot, especially in Florida, well, you actually don't have storage, right? Yeah. So we might have to look for, a storage console or things like that to help bring some storage into a space.
Right.
But then what we really look at is the pattern and how you live in the space. People, the kitchen is the hub of the home for most people. So what's going on in here? Do the kids do homework? Are you also working here at the, island? What's happening is that the pathway through to the garage, so all the sports or the bags or the school stuff. So we look at what the patterns are so we can bring the things that you're using for that function close to where you're using them.
Yeah.
And that's just efficiency. But that also will tell you, okay, right? We got way too much for this, right? Because we brought all the stuff that
trying to figure something out for some of this
stuff that supports this one activity from 3 or 4 different spaces in the house. Now you can really see.
Right.
So we really focus on zones and trying to get you to a place where you are doing very little movement.
Yeah.
If we can. Like, so we do a morning station. It's not just coffee, but you do proteins and what do you need in your supplements. Just try to get it all in one spot so you can stand in one spot and do it, not across the kitchen 7 times.
Yep.
Little things like that for us. That's for me the true organization.
Yep.
Because it's making life easier in your house.
Sure. And I like that. I like the term zones. I like looking at that, little zones in your house and then creating that space, what works for you in per zone. That it's less overwhelming.
Yes.
I think that's a good way of putting it. So.
It is. And you can do that, each family can do that. Or even if you just, well, this is the, morning zone where we need everything for, when we're going out the door to school.
Right.
How, what do we do to make that work? We worked with a family a couple of years ago, and they had, were like a upstairs where the kids were. She's like, oh my gosh, it derails us all the time. As soon as I send them upstairs to brush their teeth, but there happened to be like a powder room right near the garage door. And I said, well, guess what? toothbrushes, combs, hair bows, whatever it is, that's the last minute thing there, they don't go back upstairs, so some of it is really just figuring out how to make life simple in the house.
Yeah.
It's really not about all the bins and the containers. We love that stuff.
Yeah.
But that's not really what changes your life.
Right. What are some myths about professional organizers that you wish more people understood, especially in the Tampa Bay area?
Okay. Well, exactly what I just said, right?
Yeah.
It's not about the containers, right? It's about the habits and the routines. And so that is where we're going to come in. And I think that's where we debunk some of that, that we're not going to come in and just tell you need to spend $500 at Target in order to get organized. That it's really not. It's not a luxury, I think, for some people who are at that place where they're stuck because you get into decision fatigue. You just can't do it anymore. We're all, we've all experienced that where our brain shut down. So it really isn't a luxury if you're stuck and need help. You'd ask for the help and let someone who.
And an organizer does sound like it would be this expensive, luxury that people bring in to organize all these things, but it's really not. It's totally feasible. And for what it does, I think it's well worth it.
It really is. We're not talking about organizing the Kardashians' kitchen and pantry. We're talking about helping you figure out. Well, let me tell you, we found a lot of money.
Yeah.
Myriad stacks of paper, checks, gift cards. I mean, sometimes it's actually, a return on it. It's always a return on investment because we're giving you back so much more time and energy and space in your brain to do the other things. But, and that we're going to make you get rid of things. That's one of the things that people will say when we have a consultation. Are you going to make me get rid of stuff? Absolutely not. No, I might look at you weird and I might say, really? Really? But these are your belongings, right?
The socks with the holes in them that are, off to the side. If I can't get rid of those, you're going to probably look at me pretty weird, right?
Right. And I guess that the last thing I would say is that one size doesn't fit all, right? I don't come in and our team doesn't come in and say to you, well, this is how you do it, or follow 1, 2, 3, you can do this. We all think differently, right? If you have some neurodiversity, if you're struggling with executive functioning, how you manage your things is going to be super different than someone who, isn't. There are people who prefer what we call micro categories. Like I want all the, pencils here and I want the Legos color coded. And then there are macro organizers that say, I don't really care. Just get all the writing things in one spot.
Yeah.
So one size doesn't fit all. And it does take a little bit of time to figure out how you, manage your things. So going on to Instagram or, Pinterest and just saying, oh, that looks pretty and that looks good. Let me do it in my house. Might work, but it might not work for you. And it's not because the system didn't work. It's because you haven't really thought about how you need your things to be for you, which is different than your wife, right?
Yeah.
Than your kids.
Totally different.
Right.
Yeah.
So
completely different.
And sometimes it's hard to let go of that and be okay.
Yeah.
With, other members of our family not doing things the way, especially the moms, right? The way we want it done.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you being on here today. I think this has been a great interview. Learned a lot about the business, about downsizing, about organizing. Go ahead and tell people where they can get in touch with you.
So you can reach out to me at organizedbybarb.com. You can also follow me on Instagram and Facebook, or just go ahead and give me a shout at 727-424-8337 if you feel like you'd love to have a chat. I would be happy to talk.
Well, thank you. And this is Chad, the home care guy, and I appreciate you guys watching. Make sure you like, follow, share, subscribe, all those things across all the boards. And we will be back again with another episode this week. And I appreciate you coming out.
Thanks so much, Chad. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Take care.
Take care.
Until next time.